Yes, YouTube, hope that you're good. It's Ben Hawks, the Factor Coach Consultant, and today I'm covering a really appropriate topic coming into the back end of the year, and that is basically burnout, and most importantly, how we can actually avoid burnout. I see it thrown around all the time on social media where it's like, you don't get burnt out if you love what you do, or you don't get burnt out if you're aligned to your values, or you don't get burnt out if you've got a vision. I'm going to be completely and utterly honest with you, I think that is absolute complete bullshit. I live and breathe, I have a vision, I have a mission, I have values, and I still get burnt out. And a lot of the people who I know who are earning six figures, multi-six figures, seven figures, and multi-seven figures also do get to a point of burnout if they don't have the right type of preventions and interventions in play. And that is what I'm going to talk you through today. It's not a case of avoiding burnout, it's about how you can actually put as many interventions and as many preventions in place as possible to actually make sure you can mitigate the risk of that, because burnout is real. You can fall out with something that you love, right? It is just part of life. So it's really important to understand that you need to take this seriously, because it's not about coming in and going 100% and then dropping off, and going 100% and then dropping off. This is about how we can stay at a 85 to 90% performance limit for 365 days a year, year in, year out, because that's the type of stuff what's going to really kind of completely change your life. So I'm going to do a step-by-step walkthrough now. Right guys, so when we are looking at avoiding burnout, the two things that you've got to take into play is one, prevention, and number two, which is intervention. So basically, in essence, when we're looking at it from a prevention element, that is basically what you can do on a micro and subsystem level. So that is, what can you do on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week basis to basically completely avoid the risk of burnout. And then the second part is intervention, where I'm basically looking at pre-booked structures in order to kind of mitigate the risk of burnout. And I think it's really important to kind of articulate this one right. I know that when I go through this list in a second in terms of prevention, as fitness professionals, you more than likely are doing a lot of these elements in terms of day-to-day basis of looking after yourself. I remember I did this exercise with TMP, Kieran O'Neill, in terms of what I need to do on a day-to-day basis to perform. That was very different because I wasn't looking after myself, I wasn't training. But I also want you to look at this in terms of, right, this is not about what do you need to eat and drink and supplements to take in terms of actually training and looking better than performance. I want you to look at this of what do you actually need to do on a day-to-day basis to be able to work at your max alongside doing all that as well. So when we're basically looking at prevention as a starting point, what I've got to take into account is what do you actually need to eat on a day-to-day basis to be able to maintain focus. So for example, like I know a lot of bodybuilders who are in off seasons where they are eating loads and loads and loads, but then they're feeling really sluggish and they don't want to work. And I'll always say to them, I know that's your performance goal, I know it's what you want to do with your training and nutrition, but if you are not eating enough veg, or you're not eating enough fruit and veg because you're eating too many carbs, is that slowing down your actual rate of kind of work ethic and focus on a day-to-day basis? Like, what can you do with your nutrition to make sure that you do still have mental clarity? The next one is when we're looking at drinking, for example. Like, a lot of the time I see fitness professionals where they're hammering coffees, they are hammering the white monsters and doing all stuff onto that side, and they're sat at the desk, and I'm like, right, what are you actually doing in terms of your actual drink on a day-to-day basis to allow you to perform? So I have Human 24 nutrition supplements, which is like a morning wake-up supplement, and then also a nootropic drink. But I'll also make sure that I'll try and avoid all caffeine until I've had at least 3 to 4 litres of water in the morning. The next thing is looking at supplements. So I've just obviously spoke about what I take, which is Human Nutrition 24. It's a little bit more expensive, but I actually found it to have a really, really good effect in terms of supporting my circadian rhythm and sleep and a lot of other variables. So for example, if you feel like your energy is dropping really, really low and you're struggling, it might be due to vitamin D deficiency, it might be due to iron deficiency, it might be due to vitamin C, K, whatever it may be. But take supplements seriously. You may be deficient in an area what's basically stopping you from actually focusing in where you're struggling to sit down and focus. The next thing is actually looking at optimal working hours. So for me, for example, my optimal working hours are first thing in the morning, and then I'll always kind of drop off in an afternoon. So I normally wake up at 3 a.m. every morning. I'll do a little bit of kind of tasks in the morning. I'll train at 5 a.m. I'll walk the dogs, and then I'll come to work for 7 a.m. So for me, I'm a morning person. So my optimal working period is from 7 until about 2-3 p.m. Whereas I know a lot of people where they are do everything in the morning and relax in the morning, and then they'll start to kick in at around 11-12 o'clock, and then they'll work until later. And that's about you defining what your optimal working hours are, because if you're working against your optimal, then you're going to get to a point of burnout faster. If we're then looking at other areas, so as I've just spoke about, is Unfortunately, in winter, it's not that fun, but I walk the dogs every single morning with a head torch, but I do have at least 30 to 40 minutes outside in air and in nature. So for me, a big one is if you're in a room closed in all of the time and you're not getting outside, you're not getting air, and you're not getting a breeze, then that's going to lead to burnout. So what time are you outside in a day in terms of getting steps on a day-to-day basis? The next one is actually what time are you exercising? So a big point to make here is I could actually combine all of these. If you do not have a solidified routine with all of those variables and on a day-to-day basis it's scatty and jumping around all over the place, that's going to lead to fatigue, that's going to lead to burnout. So what you need to be looking at is in terms of what time are you eating per day, what time are you drinking, what time are you taking supplements, what time are you actually working, what time are you outside, what time are you exercising, and then most importantly bringing it back into what I've just kind of said in terms of actually having a solidified work routine. Like, what time in a day do you genuinely sit down and work on your business? The amount of times I've spoken to fitness professionals about this, I'd be a millionaire if I got £1 or $1 per time, where I've turned around and said, like, how much time are you actually sitting down and working on your business on a day-to-day basis? Like, legitimately sitting down on a laptop or a computer or a board and working on your business per day. Like, be completely and utterly honest with yourself. I do a minimum of 10 hours work on my business every single day, 5 days per week. So I do 50 hours of a direct applied time, work time on my business, 5 days per week. I've spoken to fitness professionals and other entrepreneurs before where they're like, oh, well, by the time I've been to the gym and I've done this and I've done that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're only actually doing like 3 to 4 hours sat down on your business every single day. And I'm not saying that you need to do what I'm doing, because I've got obviously very, very big goals and I love working. It's my passion. I genuinely love it. I'm not one of them like 1 hour work week type of people, and I never will be. But for example, like actually making sure that you do have a solidified routine, right? The next thing is, regardless, and a really important note to make, regardless of doing all of that, right? Regardless of doing all of that day in, day out, you will still get to a point of burnout, right? Why do I know that you will still get to a point of burnout? Because I do all that stuff on a day-to-day basis. Like, I have ADHD and ASD. So, for example, I have to have an obsessive, solidified daily routine. I have to do all of this stuff, otherwise I'll go off the rails. I do all that and I hit burnout. Right, and I know that I'm working a lot of hours, and you potentially might look, I don't want to work 10 hours a day, that's fine. But even if you are doing 6 hours or 5 hours or 4 hours, even if you're doing all that, you'll still get to a point of burnout because you're doing the same thing over time. So you can basically get routine burnout fatigue. So that basically means is when you are in a routine all of the time, you'll get burnt out from being in that routine because there's no break in the cycle. All your mind is doing is stuck in there, and you'll start to get to a point of resenting it. So what I basically recommend is that you have this type of structure. So at the end of each month, and I've purposely put this, so at the end of each month, plan 2 to 3 days away. I'm not one of them where I think that you have to go and have a break every single month. Like 4 weeks is not a long time to work to get to a point of burnout. Like it's 30 days, it's not, it goes very, very fast. So I don't recommend that you need to be taking time off work on a month-to-month basis. That's just my personal opinion, right? It's a month. Everyone can do a month's work without getting to a point of kind of struggling, right? So what you can basically do here is if you have 2 or 3 days away, that means that can be done over a weekend. So at the back end of every single month, I want you to look at your diary 2025 and go, right, at the end of each month, I'm going to go away. That might be camping. That might be to a cabin. It might be a city break. It might be wherever. All I want you to do is I want you to break the work cycle and break the routine cycle on a month-to-month basis. So you come into that next month where you're like, right, bang, I'm ready to go again. I've taken myself out of it. I'm ready to come back into it. Then the next thing is making sure that you have 5 days off. Right? I want you to have 5 days off work at a minimum at the end of every single quarter. And what I mean by that is not about coming in and just going, right, you have to book a full holiday every 3 months. Like, you can do if you want. But for me, this is just about you. Even if you do not go away, even if you do not get on a plane, even if you do not do anything, I want you to have 5 days where you can force yourself to not work, because I can absolutely categorically promise you that you will come back into that next quarter with more fire than you've ever had before. And also, which I'd highly recommend, is that in that 5 day period, you are basically reviewing, you are assessing, you are mentally and subconsciously and consciously looking over everything that's just happened in the last 3 months, and then also how you can come back and improve it, right? And then a big one, guys, which I know a lot of fitness professionals will be looking at this video like, I've not had an holiday in ages, or I've not been given my time off at ages, right? Make sure that you've at least got 2 7-day holidays. And I do not care if you are earning 2K a month, 5K a month, 10K a month, 50K a month, $250,000 a month, $1 million a month. Make sure that you have at least 7 days of an actual holiday every single year. I've just got a brand new Defender, for example, and I wanted that Defender for years, and I refused to give it myself because I basically mentally told myself I didn't deserve it yet, and until I'd bought investment properties and I had the baby and I was settled and I'd done the evolution of the company and all that, I refused to reward myself. And I sit in that car and it's great, and I feel good on a day-to-day basis. Do you know what makes me feel a lot more motivated is knowing I'm working towards an holiday. Every time, when I know that I've got a holiday booked in and I just know it's there and it's on the inkling of my mind throughout every single day of the routine, on the days where I'm like, I don't really fancy it today. Oh, I've got that holiday booked there. I'm really looking forward to that. I can't wait to get to Greece and sit back with a margarita or a cocktail or whatever it is. But the main thing basically is just having that kind of break to look forward to, having something that you're excited about. So my basically interventions to avoid burnout are actually a bit strange. So, because I'm, again, just who I am, I'm climbing Mont Blanc, so I'm really looking forward to climbing Mont Blanc. I'm doing 2-day self-supported trail run in the Lake District. I'm doing a 52-kilometer 14 peak challenge, and I've got a few other little things like that. But for me, it's just, I know that I've got that time off work, but it's also going to be a physical challenge as well. But I've also got little holidays and stuff booked in. I've also kind of put in stuff for me and Stacey. And when you're looking at 2025, guys, like, I want you to really take this thing seriously. Like, in order to do that, you must earn it. In order to earn it, you must do that on a day-to-day basis. The prevention is who you are and what you do on a day-to-day basis. The interventions are how you have a break from doing what you do and who you are on a end of month, quarterly, and at least 2 times per year, having a holiday, guys. And just as a little bit of a roundup, guys, like, what I really need you to understand is it doesn't matter where you are in business. Like, this is all about preventions and interventions. Like, you may go through a period right now where you're like, oh, I'm not really that busy, I don't feel too burnt out, so I don't deserve to go away, I don't deserve to have that break, I don't deserve that holiday. And I think that couldn't be any further away from the truth, guys, because I can promise you that down the line, when you are really pushing and you are doing a lot and it's really coming in, you're going to look back and think, I wish I'd taken that holiday, I wish I'd taken that break. Or, for example, you may have all of these interventions in place, but you're not actually looking after yourself on a day-to-day basis. And it's not because you're not motivated and inspired because you've got stuff to book. It's just because you don't feel good every single day. And that comes down to prevention. That comes down to who you are and what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So, guys, look after yourselves, please. Coming into 2025, set bigger goals than you've ever done before and execute them with the right type of prevention, the right type of intervention. And if you do want any support with your business going into 2025 and you want to find out a little more about what we do, there's a link somewhere in my bio. If you like this video, drop it a like. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. If you've got any requests, drop into comments. See you soon.